Are we ready yet, or? Yeah, they could come in along this side. That way they could. Or just even in the back. We'd like to have everybody in here. Stevie, are we on? Okay. We're on, guys.
Okay, I'll record. Okay, ready when you are.
Is either coach or are you waiting on any more players? I don't want to do anything with this. Everybody here that you expect? Okay. Mike, do you have everybody here from your team that you expected, or because I don't want to? We're going to start with the 11U, but I think someone might have just walked. Well, I'll talk slow.
Oh.
Oh, sweet. Because, Mike, if you tell me she's on the way, I could jostle things around a little bit, but so just if you think you'd reach someone. There's a lot of construction. They could be stuck in construction traffic. What's on our way? Okay. Well, by the time we go through the few things in 11, just you give me a high sign. I'll probably see her come in, and we'll. Okay. All right. Is the board ready? Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right. Good evening. The hour being 6:34 p.m. on Monday, September 9th, 2024. I'd like to call to order the Village of Brookfield board meeting. Would everyone please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Bridge, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Ketchmark?
Here.
Trustee Cote?
Here.
Trustee Hendricks? Here. Trustee Niramatsu?
Here.
Trustee Gilhooly?
Here.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Here.
And President Garvey?
Here. Thank you, Bridget. We have a couple of presentations tonight, and it seems like it's becoming an annual tradition, which is very exciting. We like to, we have a lot of great teams in town, Little League teams and other teams, but we when someone reaches the level of winning district title, that's a big deal. So we'd like to honor every team that plays and wins a championship, but there's something special about winning district titles. If you ever drive by Overholt when there's the tournaments going on, those flags flying along the outfield are all the district tournaments and above over the years, and it's a sense of pride. You can come back years and point to that flag and say that's the flag from the team that I was on. So tonight we have two teams that we're going to honor. The first is the 2024 Little League Softball 11U All-Stars, who won the District 9 championship. So the games were back in July. They won. I think you guys won in LaGrange, but you beat Riverside, right? That's, I don't know, when our kids were in Little League, beating Riverside was like extra special. So I got a good relationship with the mayor of Riverside, but it's extra special to beat Riverside, and very proud of you. And I know you ran into some tough teams trying to advance from there, but it's I know it was a memorable summer for you. We were all following you. I tried to make it to some of the games, but it was very exciting to follow you, and we're very proud of you. So we wanted to honor you tonight at the village board meeting. So we have certificates for all of you. I'm going to have you come up one by one, and we're going to have your coaches come up. And just after I give you your certificate, I'm going to have you stand along here. We're going to make you take pictures. I'm ordering you to stand for pictures. Your family gets to take as many pictures as they want. And then your coach is going to say a few words about you, and we just want to publicly recognize you. So thanks for coming out tonight. Trustee Nermatz, who's going to help me here? So it's Trustee Nermatz who calls your name up. If you could please come up. Here, why don't you give me the certificates? The certificates read Certificate of Recognition. The certificate is presented to, and it has each of your names on here. The certificate is awarded to you in recognition for your hard work and dedication in being the Illinois District 9 champion. It's got the official village seal on here, so we're going to get started. You want to read the first name?
Sure. Olive Costello. Elliot Chase.
Yep, no. They're not in alphabetical order.
Annabelle Villasenor. Elizabeth Lentz. Fiona Stenson. Lucy Jarasek. Taylor Chavez. Amelia Johnson. Brooklyn Becky. Molly Beatty. Eloise Rickheimer.
Who are we missing? Did one get mixed?
Mallory Fox.
Did it get mixed in with the 12? Maybe did I mix them up? Is there?
Mallory
Just cover up the list for now. The 12 team. We'll go look through the 12 team and see if we find people down there. And I think we have the coaches.
Aaron Duffy. John Duffy. Joe Lentz. Andy Rickheimer.
Wait, who were the ones that done? I heard someone dumped a big thing of water on Coach after the champion. Who was that? I gotta give you some advice. You admitted to it in the paper. You're not supposed to say this. I heard you guys dumped a big cooler of water on Coach. So, Coach, would you like to say a few words about your team?
Yeah, it was a great end of the year run for us. They all fought pretty hard together. So I want to congratulate them on being such a good team. I think they built that team together, and I think in years to come they'll still have that memory of this, and then also we'll build off this to be better next year. So,
We'll hold a spot on the agenda for you to come back next year.
Yeah.
Come on up closer, get a better picture.
All right, everybody right here.
So exciting. One more.
You guys are famous. You should be used to this by now. Can I sneak in and get one with you? You guys are
Yeah.
so famous.
Perfect.
Congratulations. Awesome. Congratulations. And next, we'd like to honor the 12U girls who also won the district championship and made it all the way to the state championship and fought a close battle, but did finish second in the state, which is an incredible accomplishment. It was recognized a lot of the girls from last year. It's getting, seeing some of the familiar faces where you guys are moving up. That's why I say I'd like to see you guys here next year because we got a great softball program here, and it's because of the coaches and the parents and the volunteers. So. Again, we were following you, watching you, hoping you can win the state, but we were very proud of you in winning district, and I just hear good things about the sportsmanship that you exhibited, and we're very, very proud of you. So same way we want to honor you. So Trustee Cote is going to help me honor you with the certificates. Certificates in the same language, so if you want to, you want to read. Yanis Vilna. Josie Stremski. Vivian Kawinia. Maria Elena Melendez. Eve Tolan. Lila Pagoni. Leah Becker. Callie Hickey. Justina Costello. Josie Swanson. Grace Campbell. Emma Beatty. Dave Campbell. Why don't you give Grace this to Dave? Oh, sure. I'll take that. No, that's, oh, yeah. I'll give that to Dave. All right, thank you. Ed Kawinia. Kiara Pagoni. You guys want to have your coach say a few words? He's a pro at this. He's been here before. He knows how to do this.
Thank you, President Garvey. This was kind of our swan song. This is our Trinity girls that we have Nena, Lila, Josie, and Vivi, and Gracie's not here. This is their fourth consecutive district title, which is something that's not. So obviously they had the expectation to get back to the state tournament. They wanted to get to the finals, and they were trying to win. Didn't work out that way, but the process went through these last 4 years is something that I hope will give them a tremendous amount of memories and something they'll be proud of for years to come. President Garvey said, you know, it's dedication of the players, their families, the coaches, but also the support of the village. Lou, Steve, you guys have been incredible, great partners with Brookfield Little League. It just wouldn't be possible without your support. The access you guys give us to the fields, the support, just being out there with the teams. Our Little League board president is here as well. Dan Kissel has been very supportive of the softball program. We got Rob Pilch over there, who does an excellent job with the fields. I mean, this guy can go pro and go Comiskey or Wrigley. But the amount of hours he dedicates to maintaining our field is invaluable, as is all the coaches. I see people here who all spend countless hours on the field, lining them up, breaking them, making sure they're fit for our girls to practice and play on. So it really does take a village. We hope we did you guys proud. I'm looking forward to the next generation of players and to see who's up here next year, holding another banner and hopefully maybe another state banner soon.
Follow you in high school. Go do
All right.
things in high school. All right, who'd like to come up and take some pictures?
Don't hide your face. Yep, you better get in there.
Congratulations. You're welcome to stick around for the board meeting, but I know I got homework.
Thanks, brother.
Take care, brother. Take care.
Congrats, Dave. So good to see you. Yeah, I will.
No, I didn't see a Mallory on mine.
Yeah, I think we're missing that one.
Thank you so much.
Love it. Exciting.
As they're leaving, we'll move on in a minute. We'll let them move on, but I think we'll be having one more group from Brookfield Little League coming in soon. The Brookfield boys team won the Overholt tournament last night. We didn't have a chance to arrange it yet, but we will have them in to honor them at either the next board meeting in September or the first meeting in October. So it's been a great season of baseball and softball here in Brookfield. So at this point in the meeting, I'm going to move on to we have our good friend Jennifer Bader from Brookfield Zoo to make a presentation. I've been talking about this where Brookfield Zoo has gone through a major planning process and had a major unveiling of their next century plan, which I got a chance to see early, and it's an incredibly impressive and aggressive and exciting plan. So I had invited Jennifer to come tonight and make a presentation to share with the village board and the members, the residents that are here tonight. So Jennifer, welcome, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Yes, thank you, President Garvey. Thank you, trustees, for having me here today. I know there's many familiar faces up there, but I'm Jennifer Bader. I'm the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at the zoo, and happy to be here today to go over our next century plan. Thank you. This will cover the next 15 years of work at the zoo with a 30-year vision, so it's quite comprehensive, and this is our full presentation, so it's about 50 slides. I'm going to try to fly through it a little bit and skip some of the slides with a lot of words on them, but if you're looking for any detailed information or plans, they're all located on our website at the Next Century Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. So to kick that off, who we are, hopefully you know a little bit about us, but we are a recognized leader in influencing people's actions to conserve wildlife and value nature. And every part of this next plan is really based on our mission, which is to inspire conservation leadership by connecting people to wildlife and nature. So making those moments that build empathy between people and animals and start them thinking about what actions they can take in their own life, in their own homes, to make a change in the world and benefiting nature. And so some things about us. We opened in 1934, so we'll be celebrating our 100-year anniversary soon. We're on 235 acres that are located on Forest Preserve of Cook County land. So we're within the Cook County Forest Preserves. And we welcome 2.1 million guests on average every year. And I like to think of ourselves as really the Illinois Zoo, the local zoo, because predominantly most of our guests come from within a 75-mile radius of the zoo. We don't have a lot of those out-of-state, out-of-town visitors that are visiting. It's usually neighbors that are coming again and again and getting memberships and really support the zoo in that way. Brings us to our next century plan. And again, this plan is really for the brink of our 100-year anniversary in 2034. It's going to transform the zoo into a beacon of conservation and education with some really innovative advancements. And there are 7 main pillars that we considered as we worked through this plan. I won't read them all, but they span from animal care and wellness to transforming the guest experience, extending our community and education impact, reinvigorating our existing zoo facilities, and harnessing that collective power of staff and supporters. Again, it's a 15-year plan with a 30-year vision. It's going to have innovative animal habitats, guest experiences, expansion within our existing footprint, and as you can see on that last bullet point, which will come with a substantial investment. It's going to cost us about $500 million in these first phases, which will have a rippling economic impact, and we do see that funding coming from a variety of government, private, nonprofit sources, and we're about halfway there right now. More than a campus plan, this will incorporate our Zoo for All, our commitments to accessibility for all guests that visit our campus. It will have sustainability and climate resiliency as one of its pillars. It will advance our conservation and science research and our environmental education and community engagement, as we mentioned. So getting to the actual site plan, there are 4 main areas of the zoo. First, the historical core. The zoo was built on a kind of cross north, south, east, west format. Back in a day when people came to the zoo, not only to see animals, but to promenade and see other people. So a lot of those large areas are being reclaimed by animal habitat, but we will maintain some of that historical feature. We have, largely on the Brookfield side, will be immersive ecoregions. And these are regions where you'll walk through a portal and you'll feel transported to a specific biome or a specific country around the world, making that really engaging experience. The wildlife discovery zones are really for families, for our youth, creating fun family experiences. And then the conservation campus will open up a window to our different conservation programs we have going, both in animal health, animal wellness, and local conservation projects that we do with the Forest Preserve and others. Really highlighting those programs that a lot of zoo goers might not think about right now. And so our historical core is that north, south, east, west angle, and we have already started some of these projects. If you've been to the zoo this summer, you've seen the refresh of our Roosevelt Fountain, which was a partnership with the Chicago Botanic Garden, putting in a lot of native plants, perennial plants, pollinators, and included new animal statues around that fountain. We also included the 1-year anniversary Ferris wheel that will grace us until the end of this year. The idea for the next phase, phase 2, will be really a large investment in our North Gate. That's where most of our guests come in. Right now you have to enter through a tunnel under 31st that's flooded a lot of the time, so we're looking at possibilities for a flyway or a different guest experience there that brings you ultimately right in contact with animals right away. You'll hear South American sea lions as you walk into this plaza and look across it, see the sea lions and our Humboldt penguins in new outdoor exhibits. This footprint will also take advantage of any progression of a sidewalk along 31st Street that's been very supported in the community, and we will work with that to make it a very accessible pedestrian access, whether it's by foot or by bike coming in on the north side. Back to the zones, we have the immersive ecoregions. And these regions will highlight that you're entering a new place by the vegetation that we have planted. We can't plant African species within our exhibits here in the Chicago climate, but we can pick plants that mirror an acacia tree or other trees that might be symbolic of that biome. So we're really hoping that you'll see these new experiences start to pop up as we start that planting. And this is the overall thematic organization map. And it will span everything from East African forest, South African forest, tundra, Himalayas and Central Asian steppe, and you can see it extends probably within that 15 to 30 year timeline west of Salt Creek on this map here, which we currently don't have developed. These ecoregions start with tropical forests, which will open summer of next year. This is the couple acre transformation of our Tropic World building that was state-of-the-art at its time in the 1980s when it opened, but we've learned so much since that time about animal wellness for great apes, gorillas, orangutans, and South American primates. So this will bust out of the north side of that building and provide these large outdoor expansive habitats. And it will not only include habitats to the north, outdoors of Tropic World. On the left side, on the west side, it will also include new gorilla indoor habitats, as well as one of my favorite parts on the second floor will be a large commitment to our education programs. So our teen program, our King Conservation Science Scholars, will have a whole new academic classroom there for learning, as well as our community programs that choose to have programs on site at the zoo. We'll have a nice new facility there. It'll also be open for local rentals, things like that. And then just a note that just this first exhibit is having a large economic impact. The construction will support over 336 jobs. It'll generate over $69 million in labor income and over $182 million in economic activity. And we hope some of these things, this additional revenue that's coming in, additional guests that are visiting within our doors, will also bring added benefit to the village of Brookfield as everything is developed. The next project that we anticipate, probably starting within the next 5 years, would be this Gateway to Africa plan. And this will span the mostly the northwest corner of the zoo, kind of where, if you are familiar with the zoo, currently a lot of our hoof stock, our zebras, camels, things like that are. And it will be a rotational exhibit, meaning that these exhibits will have a pathway system, that yellow path around the edge, which will allow different species to move throughout different habitats, giving you a different experience every time you come and visit the zoo. You might see giraffe in one place one time and elephants in another. And it will also be varied in the different habitats that we have, different watering holes, substrate types, plants, trees, to give the animals that dynamic environment, as well as the guests a really exciting experience as they wind their way through this new South African forest. And with that, we are committing to bringing back elephants. So we had elephants for a very long time. If you've ever visited the zoo, you'll know the #1 question I get from guests is either where is the elephants or where did they go? We get a lot of questions from youth like this, or letters asking us to bring them back. And this habitat is going to be revolutionary. It will be one of the largest habitats in the US, one of the most dynamic with that pathway system. It'll be one of the only mixed species elephant habitats in the US, and it'll be 20 times larger than our previous habitat. So there's a lot of good things here. We think that it's really worth telling that story about elephants. They're still struggling in the wild with human interactions and human poaching, so we have a good opportunity to raise money for wild elephant conservation, which we never stopped doing even though elephants left our premises. So we're very excited to bring them back. This is a look at the south side of the Pachyderm building, which we currently have black rhino there, but with black rhino moving over to where the elephants will be, we see an opportunity for Nile crocodile and hippo. And then the inside of the Pachyderm building is a lot like Lincoln Park Zoo's Lion House, if you were there before their renovation. Huge, expansive indoor areas for people, not as great habitat for animals. So we look at that building as just turning it all over to people. We'll make some really dynamic classroom spaces where you can look right out on these multi-species habitats, and then invest in larger opportunities for our animals for winter holding in a different location. one of the projects that will kind of kick off that chain of events is our phase 2 for our Southwest Australian provinces. And this is a redo of our Australia House with new bird species, a walk-through kangaroo, wallaby, and emu yard, and hopefully moving koalas to that location so that should they stay with us beyond 2 years. And then this is the Pacific coast of the Americas that will move to the north. Again, this is the Humboldt penguins and the sea lion habitat that's currently at our living coast. And then as we think to 2034 and beyond, we have some ideas fleshed out, but they still have a lot of opportunity within them for detailed planning. One of this would be Himalayan and Central Asian steppe that will include animals like takin, snow leopard, and different vertical climbing habitats. And this brings us back to the map with the wildlife discovery zones, which will be predominantly on the east and will be areas for different attractions, engagements for families and youth. We had our anniversary Ferris wheel there. We have the idea behind development of our bear grottos. If you remember where our polar bears and brown bears were a long time ago, bringing new kinds of species of bear to that area to provide engaging opportunities. This side of the zoo is where the dolphins were. We've just completed a year-long renovation of their habitat with engaging new underwater enrichment items, including hanging kelp, bubblers, sandy pools where the dolphins can search within the sand for fish and other items. So they're enjoying their new home as we move towards the colder weather. But one thing we do look at to the future is exhibiting these animals in a way that closely mirrors their wild companions. So we do a lot of research in Sarasota Bay, Florida, and a lot of people think of dolphins living in a wide open, deep ocean. But many of those individual dolphins will spend their entire life in 10 feet or less of water. So having these shallow water opportunities just provides another learning opportunity to teach people about the different habitats of dolphins and how we can help conserve their habitat in the wild. And then an amphitheater. There's plenty of room to do kind of large community growing opportunities like this amphitheater, which is right in front of our historic Big Cat Walkway. As our big cats, our lions, our tigers move to new expanded habitats on the west side, this is an opportunity to provide a gathering space for local schools, community groups wanting to do presentations, and also just a nice shaded space for our families to picnic there in the summer. And then our conservation campus on the south will, again, provide that window into some of our programs. Our vet hospital is there, our education center is there. So in some instances, literally just putting a window into our surgery center, allowing people in to see an examination on a penguin or a lion is something that brings to life these different careers that sometimes young people don't even know exist until they see them in person. And then this is the culmination of what all that will mean for our map. This map is online at our website, so you can take a look and see what species are staying or moving on. And then this plan was not just about our animals, it's about our guest experience. We have 2.1 million visitors coming. So how do we get those people around the zoo? We have a map here for our new tram opportunities to take people around. We also have different amenities and adding amenities such as low sensory rooms, nursing rooms, things that our guests need that might not have been thought of in the original planning of a 1934 site map. And then investments in our organizational culture. A lot of our employees live in Riverside and Brookfield, so with that local nature, we just want to make sure we're investing in people in our organizational culture, making sure the staff have the spaces and the tools that they need to have a successful career and a job at Brookfield Zoo as we move into these next 15 years. And then infrastructure. Everyone here probably recognizes this list. Stormwater management will be a big one for us as we look to undertake these projects, offsetting any construction that we're doing and make sure that we're using good sustainable practices to capture that stormwater that we all struggle with around the Des Plaines and the Salt Creek. Utilities, getting utilities to sites where they haven't been historically, and then just the facilities and operation of all these new areas as we bring them online over the course of the next 15 years will be top of mind. And implementation and phasing. Not a lot of details here. It will be kind of 4 phases we've mapped out, with the first first projects being Australia projects, and then moving into our African savanna with elephants and mixed species. And we imagine there'll be smaller, agile initiatives, we like to call them, along the way. We had some macaw trees put in last year, and we had our North American prairie aviary just opened within the last month. So those smaller type projects, we look forward to continuing kind of the drumbeat of excitement over the next 10 years. And then next steps, this, completion and release was just the beginning. We have continued public and stakeholder feedback that's ongoing. We're doing pricing and phasing plans, project labor and supplier diversity plans, economic impact studies, strategic plans. So a lot to do over the next 3 years as we really work into the meat of what our next steps are. And with that, that was our very comprehensive release. There's going to be lots of more information as we actually dig down, create the detailed plans for each of these exhibits, but it's a really exciting time for the zoo, an exciting time for Dr. Mike and all the team there, and we just appreciate the opportunity to come here before you, and happy to take any questions, and hope to be back soon as we have more plans.
Thank you, Jennifer. It was, I don't think I've ever seen Dr. Mike so excited when he was putting on that presentation. He was like giddy about it, and it was very exciting, and I kind of teased it to the board, and I don't think I did a bad job at teasing, because this was a really incredible presentation and how much work and everything went into it, and the process that you went through. So board members have questions or comments?
It's amazing, and very, very excited, and appreciate everything that has gone into this. It's so thorough, and it's visionary, and we're really excited that we get to witness it from here, and as a community member, get to see the development along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. I will also gush. I'm very excited. Really, really cool. Great presentation, and I'm really excited to see how we can all work together over those plans.
I'm very excited. Thank you very much for bringing this. Is the presentation going to be available on the Brookfield Zoo website?
I can check. Definitely all of this information is on the zoo's website in a different format, but I can see if we can just publicly give you this presentation as well.
Anyone else, any comments? Or?
As an EDC member, I know that Brookfield is more than just the zoo, but I do hope that the village will be very proud of all the next steps that we're doing, and it'll bring a lot of excitement to the village.
I mean, everything I've seen so far, and I mean the new dolphin habitat, and just it had been years, honestly, since I'd seen that, and I was just really impressed with that. And I know you guys have been doing a lot of work, and I joked with Jennifer and Dr. Mike, because she talks about getting the questions about elephants. I mean, the top 2 questions I get as village president from people around or from out of town are, where certain things are, and when am I going to get elephants at the zoo? So I thank them.
Now you can say.
Now I thank them for helping me out with that problem. So, but thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you and staff, going forward, and anything we could do to help it move forward and get the word out, and excited about seeing what's going to happen next. So
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a proclamation? It'll be easier for me to read it out there. We have one proclamation that I would like to read. We do this annually, and I think it's very important that we do it, but it's a proclamation of hope for the day's National Suicide Prevention and Action Month. Whereas with September being recognized as Suicide Awareness Month, the National Suicide Prevention and Action Month proclamation was created to raise the visibility of mental health and proactive suicide prevention resources in our community. We also want to start the conversation, destigmatize it, and help connect people with the appropriate support services. And whereas according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, with more than 48,000 people dying by suicide annually in the United States. And whereas according to Hope for the Day, with an average of 132 suicides completed daily, and each one directly impacting 100 additional people, including friends, service members, family, social media connections, and neighbors, we can safely assume everyone has been impacted by suicide. Whereas the Village of Brookfield publicly places its full support behind those who work in the fields of mental health, education, and law enforcement. And whereas global organizations like Hope for the Day and our local mental health partners serve on the front lines of a war that many refuse to discuss due to stigma. And whereas we encourage all residents to take time to understand mental health through education and recognize that we need to take care of our mental health while we take care of each other. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Michael J. Garvey, do hereby proclaim that the month of September 2024 is National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in the Village of Brookfield. And I'm very honored to sign this, and our village clerk will sign this, and it will be published and kept in our record. So thank you for taking the time to listen. At this point in the meeting, I will open it up to public comments. This is a chance for general public comment that you would like to make to the village board. There'll be a chance for some more public comment tonight at the end of the night, at the end of the committee of the whole. But is there anyone on this side that would like to offer any public comment? Anybody? Is there anybody on this side that would like to offer any public comment? If you do want to make any comment, I'm just going to ask you to come up to the microphone and. Okay. No one wants to say anything? You don't have to. So you're raising your hand. I'm just, yeah.
Sir, I apologize. I'm not sure if this is the right time for us to comment on the issue regarding Creekside.
You can if you would like. There's a chance you could, if you'd like to come, or you know what I'll do is when we get to that item to vote on it, I will ask for a motion and a second, and then I will open it up to specific public comments. So is everyone here that wants to comment on that particular topic? Okay. Is there any other topic, any other public comment then? Okay, hearing no report of another public comment, we'll move on to reports of special committees, please. Trustee Cote?
I would like to make a motion to approve corporate warrant dated September 9, 2024 in the amount of $2,258,666.79.
Second.
The motion was made by Trustee Cote, second by Trustee Naramatsu. Any questions or highlights or things you want to point out?
Yes, on this one, $548,000 was part of the 2024 lead water service replacements phase 2, and $440,000 was part of the water main project.
Do any board members have any questions or comments related to the warrant? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Naramatsu?
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooly?
Aye.
And Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
DPW was very busy lately. Forestry Department had to attend to 14 different trees in response to storm damage. Streets Department has been busy, not only cleaning up post events such as Music on Graham, but very busy with the alley grading. And our utilities group has been assisting with the lead water service replacements, identifying those locations where the material type is unknown. And as always, if you see an issue in town, the best method to pass this information along is via the See-Click Fix program. You can download this on your phone. You can also access via the village website, but that is the best way for it to get directly to the Department of Public Works. In regards to the library has a lot of upcoming events, so please visit their website. They have Brookfield Reads. It's a lead on the cover of this year's theme of Read, Rest, and Retreat. It is a reading initiative to help you escape the constant barrage of news coverage and media chaos. Also coming up, September 22nd through September 28th, they have the library is fighting censorship, and they're excited about, it's called Banned Books Week. They will be at the Prairie Avenue train station handing out a list of banned books in paperback form this year. Also, there is a Friends and Foundation book sale Saturday, September 14th and 15th at the library, Saturday and Sunday. If you are having a hard time, we do have 2 food pantries in town. Share Food, Share Love is open tomorrow. They're open every Tuesday night. Please take a look at their website, Share Food, Share Love. They're also always looking for help. So if you are looking to help for something of the greater good, please inquire for volunteer opportunities. This is Suicide Prevention Month. Veterans looking for mental health assistance can do so via the Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. Please call 312-569-6177. It is an estimated that we lose 22 veterans a day to this. If you are struggling, please call 988. If you are a veteran and struggling, 988, hit option 1. The VA does have a national coaching and care program. They'll help with licensed psychologists and social workers to talk to you by phone free of charge. And if you want to speak to a VA coach, it's 888-823-7458. The Veterans Assistance Commission of Cook County has a lot of items for veterans in Cook County. We have a link to that off of our website on the village. Please go visit that. There are plenty of things for veterans that are available to veterans. If you don't have access to the internet, you can go to the Brookfield Library and they will give you a laptop to use while you're there so you can browse and go to those same sites. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Cote. Trustee Gahuli, Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, the Chamber has quite a bit going on, as usual. I want to note a few organizations. One is Miss Clara's Mini Musicians. Miss Clara has been a Chamber member, and she's a board member as well. She just celebrated her 10th anniversary yesterday. And for anyone who's been around for that long here, I will say if you get a chance, go on Facebook. She posted a video from her ribbon cutting 10 years ago, and you'll get a chance to see a glimpse too of Kathy Edwards, our former board member and very active volunteer here in Brookfield in many different ways. So really great memories to see there, and congratulations to Miss Clara. Also, NAMI Metro Suburban is also a Chamber member. They recently just held an education event for mental health. They had discussions, they had presentations in connecting students with their services, and just doing a great job to kind of kick off the school year. So NAMI Metro Suburban, a great opportunity for volunteering and education around mental health. I want to note one new thing that is kind of exciting that's just opened. The Community Refrigerator is a new initiative that was started. There's a ribbon cutting this Friday, September 13th at 1 p.m. for anyone that would like to attend. That will be held at Share Food, Share Love Food Pantry. This initiative is sponsored by, is sponsored by the Rotary Club of Brookfield and Riverside and Beach Avenue Barbecue. So it is I'm going to kind of read this here because it's a pretty unique thing, but it's a great service to the community. It's opening in the foyer of Share Food, Share Love Food Pantry. And it's this collaboration between, as I mentioned, Beach Avenue Barbecue, Rotary Club of Brookfield Riverside, and the Palaki Lodge number 630, Independent Order of Odd Fellows, and it's been in the works for a long time. They are, in addition to the little free food pantry, this is a way to offer perishable items to the public. So anyone in need can go and access this refrigerator, and it'll be open immediately after the ribbon cutting at 1 p.m. So money has been collected for years for this project. There's some extra security around it, but filling it will be on a donation basis, and I believe it was just filled to start out with by Little Grange Park Antique Mall, who is a Chamber member, and also Compassion United Methodist Church. So really wonderful, community gathering around all of these Chamber members to offer a great service to the community. Also going on is the 60 to Win program. This is an annual fundraiser for the Chamber to help fund scholarships and all of the other events that they put on for the community. 60 to Win, these are $20 tickets that you can buy, and they get thrown into a raffle and you get multiple chances even on the same day to win cash prizes. The drawings will start on September 19th. So if you haven't purchased your ticket yet, they're $20 each. You can get as many as you want. You can go to First National Bank of Brookfield to buy your tickets there, and there are signs and windows and businesses all over town where you can go ahead and purchase those. So it's really fun, and starting on September 19th, they'll go ahead and draw those numbers over at Joe's Saloon. They'll broadcast it on Facebook, so it's a really great and fun event and great opportunity to win some money. The farmers market is still going on the west side of Village Hall here every Saturday. Great turnout every single week. So please continue to go out there and see something new every week. They're also planning the Kris Kringle Market for this winter. So a lot of planning going on around that. It's to be pretty exciting, even bigger and better than last year, including the Brookfield mug. So there'll be, a new design for the mug this year, so be sure to get yours. And then finally, the Art Fest is September 28th in Kiwanis Park. It is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Should be really great. They will also have an auction for the rain barrels from the Brookfield Artists Collective that were painted earlier this year. And they are also looking for volunteers. So if you go to brookfieldartists.org, you can go ahead and sign up to volunteer. So hope to see you out at the Art Fest as well. And then finally, on the mental health aspect and supporting our Suicide Awareness Month, wanted to make sure that everyone is also aware, and these resources are all available on the Village website for Proviso Township, Lyons Township, Riverside Township, for the different mental health resources. But the Proviso Township Mental Health Commission does support our residents in Proviso Township for mental health, substance abuse, developmental disabilities, domestic violence, senior care, youth prevention services, and they also have a crisis hotline. So they have confidential services in addition to all the other resources you heard about. You can always call 708-234-TALK. Someone will be there to answer your call. They have counselors, and they can redirect you to any of the number of programs that they have, and it is all confidential. So I wanted to throw that out there, 708-234-TALK, and please pass that on to anyone you know that might need some help. And that ends my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Gahuli. Trustee Hendricks, Planning and Zoning.
No report.
Thank you. Trustee Ketchmark, Administration, Economic Development.
The next meeting of the Economic Development Commission is next Wednesday, the 18th. Last Thursday, the Village of Brookfield closed on the purchase of the theater building on Grand Boulevard. This was built in 1911, was an active theater for much of the time through the early 50s. For several decades after that, it was a manufacturing facility, and then was mostly used for storage in the subsequent years. This is a key part of our continued revitalization of the Grand Prairie District. Having this property under village control will allow us to better work with potential developers in bringing development that will best serve this area. So stay tuned as we go forward on that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Ketchmark. Trustee Naramatsu, Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, so I wanted to just, anyone who was at the last Music on Grand, I think can attest that it was a great night. I think it might be the busiest I've ever seen it. So I just, as we wrap up the Friday night concert series and the Music on Grand events, I just want to thank our village staff and our law enforcement and all of our Parks and Rec volunteers and Public Works for all their work this summer. I think everyone enjoyed all the events. We do have one last hurrah on September 28th, so join us for one last Music on Grand. The village will be posting more information on the website regarding the Community Center Feasibility Study Survey. That's going to be going out to the public soon to get public comment on a potential community center. This will be my penultimate plea to please do not miss the duck race on September 28th. And we are very, very close to our goal of selling 3,000 ducks. So if you see them, I would suggest purchasing them because we are very, very close. 3,000 ducks. It's over 3 times as many as we sold last year. So it's going to be a sight to see in Salt Creek. That is September 28th at noon. The ducks get dumped on Washington Avenue Bridge, and they travel down Salt Creek to the canoe launch at Kiwanis Park. So please join us. It'll be really fun. And you could win up to $1,000. And that, well, the next Parks and Rec Commission meeting is Tuesday, September 17th at 6:30 here at Village Hall. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Trustee Naramatsu. Trustee Kuzny, Conservation and Beautification.
Thank you. For the Conservation Commission, the week before the ducks go down Salt Creek, you can come to meet the creek, and you can take yourself down Salt Creek in a kayak or canoe from 12 to 4. Really excited about this event. We have a lot of good volunteers helping out and a lot of great things happening in the picnic pavilion as well to check out some different, scavenger hunts in the Kiwanis Park. We have the Brookfield Zoo coming to do some dip netting, so you can come check out what you can find in the creek as well and do an activity there. But always a lot of work goes into this event, and I know the commissioners are excited to have everyone out. The other thing they're working on is in partnership with the library. They're working as being some of the speakers for Oaktoberfest, which is October 7th. And if you love oak trees, you should go to Oaktoberfest, not at a bar, but at the library, and learn about oak trees. That'll be at 7 p.m. On October 7th. And then we're working with our waste hauler, Groot, and Public Works for an electronic or e-waste collection day in October. So stay tuned for that, and there'll be more information coming out shortly. We filled many dumpsters doing that before, and so we hope to collect all of your e-waste again and take it away safely. The next meeting for Conservation Commission will be September 24th at 6:30 p.m. The Beautification Commission wants to thank all of the, and congratulate all of the summer garden recognition winners, all of the residents, for all of their beautiful gardens that we get to look at throughout town, and for winning the most popular social media posts, I hear. So the garden recognition posts on the Brookfield social media page has the most engagements and impressions, so everyone loves beautiful gardens. So thanks for clicking all the likes and the great comments on their gardens. We have nominations coming up for fall decor starting October 1st. We're going to have 2 awards for the spookiest front yard decorations and the fall festiest decorations. So you can win either one. You can nominate online. They'll be on the Facebook page and the village website as well. And then this year, instead of doing Fall Project Nice, we are celebrating National Cleanup Day on September 21st. So we're going to be promoting National Cleanup Day to clean up your yard, your garden, your neighborhood, your parkway, and post pictures of your cleanup and how much fun you're having picking up stuff in your yard. So September 21st, before you go to Meet the Creek, you can clean up your yard and send us pictures. And then the next meeting of the Beautification Commission will be November 5th at 6:30 p.m. in the lower level. That ends my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Kaluzny. In terms of the Brookfield Zoo and Solid Waste Agency and WCMC, thank you to Jennifer for being here tonight to share the future plans for the Brookfield Zoo. We're partnering with you in so many different things. It's exciting to see these things going forward, so we look forward to that. I know it's been a great summer at the zoo. The WCMC, as I think I mentioned to the board, the next meeting of the WCMC is the annual dinner meeting, which is, I think it's that Friday, September 27th in Rosemont. I will be attending as a member of the executive board. If anyone else wants to go or hasn't let staff know yet, we need to RSVP for that, and I'll report back after that September 27th meeting. So that ends the items we have under reports of special committees. At this point, I'd entertain a motion to pass the omnibus agenda as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion to pass the omnibus agenda is made by Trustee Kaluzny, second by Trustee Cote. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Niramatsu?
Aye.
Trustee Gilhuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And among the many important items on that omnibus agenda, I just wanted to point out that we had one of our local establishments approach us, the Cordial Inn. I don't know if everybody knows, the Chicago Bears are playing a game in London on Sunday, October 13th. And with the time difference, and apparently there's some excitement about the Chicago Bears, there's some high hopes for this year. One of our there's an ordinance that says you can't serve alcohol before 11 a.m. on Sunday. Well, with the game being in London, it starts earlier. So we offered it up to all our establishments that serve food and beverage, but the Cordial Inn and Sebastian's Ale House will be open. We'll have a liquor license to serve on Sunday, October 13th, starting at 8 a.m. So people can go watch the Bears game in London at one of those 2 establishments. We offered it open to everyone, but those 2 took us up on it. So if you're looking for a place to go and watch the Bears game Sunday morning, October 13th in London, hopefully, I think they should be 3-0 by then or something, 4-0. Those 2 establishments will be having food and beverage specials, and you can go out and support them. So we did that as a way to kind of help support our local establishments as they try to get new people into their businesses. So thank you. Moving on to the items under regular business. The first item, I'd entertain a motion to pass a resolution to approve submission to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Open Space and Land Acquisition and Development Grant for the Creekside Park Project.
So moved.
Second.
So the motion to pass the resolution was made by Trustee Kaluzny, second by Trustee Niramatsu. This was something we talked about at the last committee of the whole meeting. Staff made the presentation, then an opportunity came up to apply for an OSLAD grant and the attempt to tie in development at Creekside and South Hollywood. So presentation, we had a lot of discussion. I know there's been some public input, but I know there's members of the public. So I do have a motion in a second. If the board's okay, I will open it up to public comment and let the members of the public that would like to do that, and then I'll give you guys a chance to discuss it going forward. So on this side, is there anyone that would like to address the village board on this topic? Sir, if you could just come up, I'm just going to ask you to come up to the microphone so everyone can hear you, and if you could just state your name.
Hi, my name is Perry Corrieth, and I live on Riverside Avenue, right where it curves into Arden. And I wanted to speak up for a few things. First of all, we feel very cut off where we are. We have a 3-year-old and 1 car, and that means a few things. First of all, if we want to go to Kiwanis Park, I mean, we have to drive. We can't make that walk with our 3-year-old. And I think especially the bridge aspect, I think that would be really exciting to be able to access more parts of the community. Also, as an aside, I have melanoma skin cancer, and I'm actually very excited about not only going through kind of a covered forested area, but the fact that there would be shade sales. That's another aspect that I'm very excited about, as opposed to walking through the sun down Hollywood Avenue with cars zipping past on the left. Yeah, also just a couple other things to add, that both this park going, but also kind of making that Creekside Park accessible is really exciting for us, because my 3-year-old goes to Alphabet Learning Center. That too, we have to drive every morning, whereas if we had that bridge, we could walk every day. She could see, oh, we don't have to drive everywhere. You know, you can actually get outside, use your feet. We also love Burger Antics and Daisy's Ice Cream, and we would probably be patrons there a lot more if we could walk there on a Friday night. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
And if I could ask you to approach for just a second, those are 2 of the best behaved kids I've ever seen at a village board. I will leave that up to you if you want to give that. You can hide it from them if you want, but I got to compliment they're the best behaved kids I've ever seen at a board meeting. Thank you for your comments also. Anyone else on this side want to comment? Yes, if you could please come up to the microphone.
Good evening. My name's Sam Heilenbach. I'm a new resident to Brookfield. We moved in on Hollywood, just south of the zoo stop. And I just wanted to echo some excitement for the bridge. We have a newborn back there, just about a month old, and the idea of having a park that you can access without crossing the tracks and dealing with Brookfield Avenue, as well as just the accessibility, I think is something that I'm really looking forward to. And as a new resident, I just wanted to come and make my voice heard. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for the comments. And I know enough not to give a 1-month-old a sucker, but it's also probably the best behaved 1-month-old, because I didn't even see or hear the 1-month-old back there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this side would like to offer any comment on this topic? How about this side? Mike?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak in front of the board. Last time I did this was like 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
You got to come around more often.
And that was to help save the trees of Brookfield with the wrapping of that whole thing when they were doing street construction. So I'm a retired school teacher, and thus that gives me a heck of a lot of time to walk around with my dog in the neighborhood. I've also, proud to say, I've lived in Hollywood for 72 years. So I kind of know South Hollywood. I played in those woods. I know those woods like the back of my hand. The forts that we built are still there in some places. The paths that we built are still there in some places. And in those days, I know it's a lot different today than it is then, but our parents turned us loose in those woods and said, have fun and get to enjoy the environment, get to enjoy the creek. I mean, I could go on and on and on, that kind of thing. But I'd like to respond to a couple things. Number one is I do believe and support the idea of responsible rebuilding of the Forest Reserve. I mean, all we got to do is look around at Cook County and look what the Cook County Forest Reserve has been doing under Perkwinkle's guidance and leadership. They have spent a lot of money and made a lot of the forests in this area incredibly beautiful. Now you might say, well, they cut a lot of the stuff down and there's all this vacant area. Eventually, that's going to be a habitat for all sorts of creatures and animals. And in fact, the prairie off of Walbancy right now, there are plants in there that haven't been seen in there for a long time, and they're protected there. So I'm all for reforestation. I'm all for cleaning it up, to be clear. I am not in favor of the bridge. And these are the reasons I'd like to give. So I do play around in the woods with my dog still. And if you walk along the area that we're talking about and you look at the train trestle that the Burlington and Metro uses, just go down there. I invite you to go down there and look along there. And you will see gang graffiti on some of the walls. In fact, one of the walls there has been repainted white, and gang graffiti's back on the wall again. So I understand where you guys are coming from, but I'm not sure that I want to invite an element of gangs into, which probably already are there, but I don't see it. So that's something to think about. I'd share that, and then the board, if you don't believe me, let's go for a walk along the river, and I'll show you that. Or we can go to Irish Times. I don't advise doing that and then going down that little ravine, but anyway, we can see where that graffiti is at. The other thing is South Hollywood is really an enigma in terms of its geographic location. There's really only 1.5 ways to get in and out of the town. 1.5 ways. And the halfway is down by Walbancy, and you can only go right because it's a danger. First Avenue is dangerous. The other way is across the railroad tracks. Criminals don't like that. So now you add a bridge that our police force is already being taxed. They're doing the best job they can to keep it safe. Now you're asking them one more element to go and protect that area of the woods. So the people that live along there, would I want gangs and would I want extra population coming into my area at that time they don't belong there unsupervised? I would say no. So that's something to think about. The other issue I'd like to throw out there is this, again, I got all the time in the world. So I heard this argument about where we could use the Brookfield train station and become very accessible. So being the whack job I am sometimes, I went down there at 6:11 2 nights ago to watch the 6:11 train come in from Chicago to see where people are going. Zero people marched towards Hollywood. They all went into Brookfield downtown. Not 6:11, but at least that's one example of that. The other one is Brookfield has this wonderful sign out there in front of the station that says this is where you can be in 5 minutes and in 10 minutes for a walk. So I looked at the sign, it got these big circles. In 5 minutes, you can get to Kiwanis Park from the train station. And in 10 minutes, you can get almost all the way to the woods on the other side of Hollywood. So this idea of saving time, I'm not really clear about, and making it more accessible to get downtown when we're already talking 5 minutes and 10 minutes. So the amount of money that could be spent on this thing, are we really using our pennies wisely? So that's something to think about. And by the way, if you don't believe me, look at the sign that we put up as a Brookfield, Village of Brookfield. It's there. It gives you the 5-minute radius, 10-minute radius walk. So I don't get it, that part of it. And finally, you know, I love Mayberry, South Hollywood. That's what we kind of affectionately call it because it is so peaceful and quiet and safe. And we do have parks. Hollywood School has a beautiful little park that you can walk across the railroad tracks. It's usable year-round, and it's already there. And we do have Kiwanis Park. It's a beautiful park. It's already there. Again, I'm for revitalization of the forest reserves. I'm for that, but I'm definitely against that bridge. Why break something that is so special? We're the only neighborhood I know of in the western suburbs that has a Hollywood like that. So that's my closure. And by the way, if you do go to the game at 8 o'clock in the morning, don't drink and drive.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Anyone else on this side like to make any comment on this topic? Yes, sir, if you could please come up.
Thank you so much. Sorry I yelled before.
No, you didn't. No, it was a good. I knew you were. I could see you were hesitating, but we would have taken the comment then or take it now. So.
Not the first time I've made a fool of myself.
You didn't.
I'm going to keep it short, which I think we'll all approve of. Essentially, my concerns are.
And I'm sorry if you could just state your name for the record. Just.
My name is Matt. Thank you for having me. My concerns are purely environmental. I pretty much agree with Mike in terms of conservation and upkeep if possible, but I generally do oppose almost every form of development of natural spaces that are home to wildlife. My position only. And I think if it can be kept wild and conserved for the future, I would like to see that it's kept wild and conserved for the future. I like animals, we all like animals, etc., etc. We have owls, we have hawk, we have turtles, we have fox, we have migratory birds, we have many forms of fauna and plant life, etc., etc. And I also care about the creek itself. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that the living space for these creatures is dwindling, and if we can keep it from dwindling under our watch, I think that's a good thing. And I think our grandkids, we all know people who are 80 years old, or not, who are 3 generations deep into this community. And I think they might want to stay here and have their grandkids see it. Thank you again. I apologize for...
Don't apologize. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. Anyone else on this side like to comment on this topic? Yes, sir?
I brought my note cards with me. I just wanted to reiterate...
And I'm sorry, if you could state your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Steve Addy. I said some things 2 weeks ago opposing the implementation of the bridge, as well as a bathroom there, and I still would reiterate those. Just a couple other things that I would bring up is that this would be the 4th bridge within about a 200-foot radius that goes across Salt Creek. I think that that's $2 million that could be better spent elsewhere for flooding mitigation. I kind of want to hammer that point, I guess. I would, just reiterate what they said about the environmental factors and the seclusion of South Hollywood. I would also be opposed to using Roundup to try to. I understand that we need to get rid of buckthorn, and it's a great thing to do that, but I don't really want to be using toxins and poisons to try to kill the buckthorn that's there. I'm hoping that there's a different way that we can get rid of the buckthorn. Really, that's about it. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out again tonight. Anyone else on this side like to comment? Okay. I'm sorry. Where? I didn't see.
Oh, did you raise your hand?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see there. Or I'm sorry. I didn't see there.
It's okay. Hi, all. A lot of familiar faces up there. Laura Meehan, resident in South Hollywood. I won't reiterate what everyone else has already said. We have a very special little neighborhood where we are. I've been there for over, I think, 25 years now. And we love that it's secluded, that the woods are untouched, other than kids roaming and seeing nature. I don't think a bridge is a good avenue to go, a good route to go. Money, the access that it provides. I think that's, I can tell you I'm right off of Southview, and so many kids go into their teenagers that we have to shoo out. And they're there for reasons that, they shouldn't be in there. I think this would be a magnet for more people to come in and be in the Arden Woods. I don't think it's necessary. I think the blocks that are back where we are the kids feel comfortable going and playing in the woods, or parents taking walks with them and their dogs. But other than that, I think you're just inviting trouble and unsupervised activity. So I would encourage you not to put forward this money and development in this area. We're okay, just left alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Victoria. I live in Hollywood area more than 20 years already. And I've been to a couple first meetings when you just started talking about the project. What surprises me is how fast it escalated. We were talking about the cleaning up the woods from the invasive species, then about the gravel trails, then now I hear from my neighbors that you're talking about the paved trails and the bridge and the toilet and the garbage cans. And so yes, I totally agree to all that was said by my neighbors. Animals we see, I mean, this spring it was several baby deers there. We'll not see that if the project goes through. I have 3 kids who grew up there, and that's the main thing they love about it, that it's all wild in there. Then I don't know where most of you live, but come over there and see the street that's next to the forest. Maybe that's, again, I didn't see the last plan, what was planned for this part of the Hollywood area, but the street is now has holes. It's dangerous to bike, it's dangerous to walk, and with all the houses tearing down there, I know Lions doing it, but maybe Brookfield and Lions can collaborate somehow on it to fix the streets, to fix the sidewalk, and it's right there next to the project that you are proposing to do. Another thing, animals. Yes, we have snapping turtles, and I live right next to the property that you are talking about remodeling. So it would affect us, it would affect all the houses and families, and most of those people live on those streets that faces the woods. So if, again, I invite you to come over there and see what else can be done instead of what can be ruined. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Any other comments on this side? Okay. All right, before because I think I'd like to have staff just clear up a little bit. I think there's a bit of a misconception that this is like these projects have moved really fast. I mean, the OSLAD grant, what I'm asking the board to vote on tonight is to direct staff whether or not to apply for an OSLAD grant, which is a grant through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and it's money that's specifically available for parks and open spaces and developments, and there's criteria, and we've been very successful over the years, probably one of the most successful municipalities in achieving these OSLAD grants because we understand the process and how the point system works. And what we try to do is we try to leverage as much of our money, because we don't have a park district. When we make park improvements, it comes out of the general fund or other funds. So over the years, we've tried to use these grants to improve our park space and open land space. And as I said, we've been very successful because I know we have good parks, we have great parks, but even the ratio of open space that we have to our population is low, so we look for these opportunities. But the OSLAD part of applying for it did come up relatively recently, but I don't know if Luke or Steve, because Steve, you were involved in this too before, but can we talk a little bit about how long the plans have been for South Hollywood and just in general in Creekside? I mean, this isn't something that's brand new.
Yes, so in our 2014 open space plan, it identified the South Kiwanis Park area. Let me see what I got. So in that plan, the 2014 open space plan, there was given recommendations for that park area. Some of the recommendations included considering a nature-based play component, add a loop trail, consider preservation to natural areas, woodland, shoreline, and creek when possible. Consider adding stone outcropping to provide access to Salt Creek. Implement park identification signage. And then the most important one that we identified was improve connectivity by providing a connection to the regional trail system. So this was in our 2014 plan in that open space. So it has been identified as a project. And then just to kind of give an overall timeline of this project, just to kind of give more background to it. So in addition to the 2014 open space plan, there's been a lot of work in there to remove that buckthorn that we have in there that's an invasive species. That has mainly been volunteer work from our Conservation Commission to help remove that, and then some limited resources from our Public Works Department has helped with that as well. When we're talking about this as well, we received a grant from the NPS, the National Park Service. The grant was approved in April 2023. What that gave us, it wasn't a monetary value, but it gave us design and landscape services to help design that area with the intent of keeping it as a natural area. There's no intent of making big construction projects or anything in that area. It's mainly to keep it natural while also removing some of those invasive species so that we can have some of the native plantings incorporate in that area. Some of the native plants will actually help grab some of that water as well as a part of the restoration of that area. So that's kind of been an ongoing project that we've had. But the NPS grant was April 2023 when we received that. We had our first meeting November 13th of 2023. It was a meeting at the Hollywood House where we met with South Hollywood neighbors, and then they identified certain issues that they have with that park space. We had about 137 distinct comments that were collected from that meeting. And help identify us and put it into 11. We broke all those down and put them into 11 categories. These categories included nature and beauty, stormwater and flooding comments, comments about Salt Creek, trail/bridge related comments, outdoor recreation and play comments, education, interpretation, maintenance and stewardship, hazard and safety comments, and getting to the park /parking issues. A couple of the comments really identified the no change, or they like the seclusion and isolation of that area. And then there were some miscellaneous comments that didn't really necessarily fall under those, but were worth noting in those. I'm not going to read each 137 comments because that's too much. And then after that November 13th meeting, and all of these comments that kind of helped guide our concept plans, we developed concept plans and brought it to the public in a public open house on February 28th. On February 28th, we proposed a couple different concept plans, and we got feedback from the community to help identify the different aspects to the park and what they saw being in that park. From that meeting, that helped us identify and narrow down the concept plan on that Kiwanis Park side that you see today. And one of the big components that came from it was the connectivity aspect, connecting more of the public to that beautiful natural area that we intend to keep as a natural area. And then we had, after the February 28th meeting, there was a joint commission meeting with the Parks and Rec Commission and Conservation Commission. That was held May 21st of this year. That was to kind of refine some of the plans that we had from the meetings prior, and then to discuss between the commissions, Parks and Rec and Conservation in regards to it. And then following that meeting, the next open meeting that we had was the August 20th, where we unveiled the Creekside Park options. Underneath the Creekside Park options, that was also identified in the 2014 open space plan. The main being that the play equipment is past its IDNR useful life. So that was an identified piece of equipment that we needed to replace. And it also had considerations for shade, and then considerations for one of the recommendations in the Creekside Park was considering adding boardwalk or overlook, which could be a part of the overall river trail plan. So this was Creekside Park's portion of the 2014 open space plan. So I hope that kind of gives a little more background of all of the information and public information gathering that we did in regards to this project.
It does, Luke. Thank you very much. And my point being, it's just I know I've heard some public comments that thought this was moving fast. I mean, the grant part does. I mean, when the state releases the OSLAD schedule, they don't give us a lot of time, but we try to be ready for some of these projects. But I know there's been this talk and plans for South Hollywood and a lot of volunteer time and effort. And maybe because I've been at a few of the buckthorn removal days, but I don't remember seeing Roundup being used. Do they use Roundup?
No, they use herbicide.
Right. I mean, I've been there, not recently, but I've been through several times, and I know we have volunteers with professional expertise out there and directing people what to do and how to do, and being very safe. But
and they do very carefully paint it right onto those fresh cuttings.
Yeah, so because I'm more manual labor lifting and moving stuff, but I mean, I know they weren't using Roundup, so I'm not sure exactly where that concern came from, but I did want to address it. So I'll open it up to the board for comment. I just wanted to I know the board members received emails on both sides of the subject over the past couple weeks. We've talked to people publicly. I know I've had people reach out to me, but I'll open it up to board discussion at this point. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Luke, can you just clarify for the board and the audience members, we are applying for the grant. This is what we had talked about at the last meeting was 2 phases to this. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Here, let me see if I can. All right, here. So this is the presentation. We can kind of go to the slide where it mentions. So here, so this was the funding option that mentioned. So phase 1, you could see the project total there. And then phase 1, if you look at the amenities included, it does have the bridge abutments included into that portion of the project. So, when we go for phase 1 for the OSLAD grant and we put in bridge abutments, the next identifying thought would be that phase 2, you would put in, the bridge as well as a part of that. Does that help answer your question, Kit, or you want me to more clarify?
It does, but I guess so. Chiefly, phase 1 is related to Creekside Park.
Correct.
Outside of the abutments.
Outside, yep, correct. So phase 1 is really identifying the Creekside Park side of it. When we go for these OSLAD grants, we can, when we identify items that we're going for and we put it into the plan, and we then follow through with the plan when we get the grant, we can't remove any items after that's already submitted into the OSLAD grant for the application. But we can submit the application minus some items, and then those items could be added at a later date if we chose to. So with that being said, if phase 1, if we focus just on the Creekside Park option, we could remove the bridge abutments from that plan, and that would help lower our cost initially, and it'll get us the Creekside Park improvements that are much needed. But then it doesn't commit us to a bridge or a phase 2 portion to that project. So I wanted to give some options for the board to kind of discuss about those, just so that we have some ideas.
Can you clarify? So I know that the bridge offers a trailhead basically for South Kiwanis. So if we do not build that bridge, where would the kind of official trailhead for South Kiwanis be? And does that introduce any barriers or challenges to the neighborhood in terms of maybe parking or anything like that?
Yes, so in part of the concept plans, when we were looking at all the options, one of the options was having the trailhead on the east side along the street. But through the public engagement, there was a lot of comments against having street parking in the South Hollywood area. The other option would have been putting a parking lot inside that natural area, but there was also a lot of public comment and feedback saying that they did not want that due to the beauty of the natural area. So that was the reasons that we did not put it on that side of the project for the trailhead.
Thank you.
So the trailhead is on the Creekside Park, which would then require the bridge to then access if the trailhead's on that side, correct?
Correct.
And just could you remind the phasing or like the timing of the grant? So if this grant was received in phase 1, that project could start when, and then phase 2 would be a second grant that would be how farther down the line?
Sure. So for this specific OSLAD for phase 1, the grant, it needs to be submitted by September 13th. The grant award would be sometime between January and April of 2025. It varies each year. We don't really have a specific date when they announce those. Bidding then for the project would be estimated in fall, so October 2025, with the potential construction starting March of 26, then with the anticipated completion in the following fall of October 2026.
And this would be phase 1?
This would be phase 1. And then phase 2 would be any subsequent years after that. It doesn't necessarily define it that we have to go for it the next year. It can be a year after. It would also depend on our funding, village reserves and funding that we would be using for this.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the board?
I appreciate the desire to have a connection between Creekside and South Kiwanis, and the connection to South Kiwanis, especially when it's a response to the South Hollywood residents and their desire to not have parking and additional people parking in their neighborhood. I don't think that unsupervised activity happens every single day in that forest. Every time a South Hollywood resident goes to walk in those woods, I think that a bridge would be a lovely idea in order to let more of Brookfield's residents, the Brookfield's residents whose tax dollars go to pay for the maintenance of South Hollywood, would allow them to also use that space more easily. That said, I am not comfortable with the cost of the bridge and having to phase it into 2 OSLAD grants, which I'm not confident would both be approved. In which case, if we were to go for an OSLAD grant that just has the abutments, if the next OSLAD grant weren't approved, we would just have abutments that were very, very costly. So my concerns are economic. I'm not in favor of including the bridge or the restroom building in this project. I would love a connection, but this cost is, for me, too high, and I know that we need to do something in Creekside because we need to replace the playground equipment there, but that's my opinion on it.
I'm under similar thinking here, in that I do think it would be wonderful to open this up to the broader community to be able to enjoy, this nature area, creating, more recreation opportunities for our residents and allowing them to engage with that, because it really does belong to the whole community. And as many people have said here, having future generations enjoy this, right? From youth on up. I've hiked and walked in many natural areas with bridges that didn't seem to create, negative situations. It does of course increase the number of people who would have access. So I'm not sure that's always a bad thing if it is, well marked, and I think most people have good intentions there to use those spaces in the right way. I will say the part that I agree with too is the cost. I think initially I said yes, let's maybe do these abutments because it is very exciting. I think it could look and provide great opportunities. I think for the September 13th application, I would like to have more time to plan out the cost of this. Just a better approach to funding and longer term. It just feels like I don't feel very confident in that right now, and I would hate to have those abutments there and put that investment into that without knowing, how we're going to approach that next step. And it gives us a little more opportunity to plan this out. But I love all the improvements to Creekside, and I love all the other pieces of it.
And if I could, because I can't remember if this was, I think it was said publicly during the committee of the whole, or if it was discussion afterwards about, staff has been very upfront that, we don't know when the next round of OSLAD applications will come through, and we don't know can never guarantee success on a second OSLAD grant, but there was talk that if the board made the decision if they thought the connectivity was a major part of the project and we invest in the abutments. None of us want to build abutments to a bridge that never is going to get built, but I think staff indicated there's other opportunities for funding outside of the OSLAD program there. We would seek to help complete a bridge if we did build the abutments. We wouldn't just wait on the OSLAD, next round of OSLAD, if there was other opportunities that were less of a match, or some of the member initiatives through state and federal representatives, or other grant opportunities. Was that discussed at the previous meeting, or? And that's still the plan. I think staff's been very upfront. We're not hanging our hat completely on, and it's going to be the board's decision to make it if it's a financial priority going forward, but it's not just the OSLAD program is the only way to fund that. If the board decided to put the abutments in going forward, there could be other ways to fund the bridge. I just wanted to make sure that was put out there. So,
and in regards, I do like that it would spearhead or be the trailhead right there. I do like the idea of a bridge, similar to Trustee Hendricks. I do struggle with the cost of that bridge, and only with that cost of that bridge. If I were to concern myself with the worst in people all the time, we would never build anything. And so I have to look at the positive side of what can be and everything. But in this case, the cost of just the bridge itself does cause concern in the long run. I know it is a significant amount, but though we would be able to get a grant to put the abutments in now and find grants to do the bridge or help with the bridge going forward, we could also still find grants to do abutments and bridges going forward as well, outside of this particular OSLAD. So I am not totally against what Trustee Hendricks has said in regards to the bridge. As I said during the committee of the whole, anybody who has children, the first time you go to a park, the first thing that happens, they have to go to the bathroom. And that's immediate. And it always happens when there's not one. This building of the restroom, I am totally in favor of it. I don't like porta potties themselves, but I am in favor of a potty, for lack of a better term, because I keep saying potty. But a built-in a potty facility, I am totally in favor of it. Restroom facility, I am totally in favor of still having that. I don't think it brings the bad in people. I don't think it's going to bring nefarious actions in that area. So I am in favor of still having that and everything else in there. I would not be against not including the abutments in this case, and then we could readdress a bridge situation going forward. However, that does go against the whole idea of what is being done here. But the cost in itself is what I struggle with on that part.
So just because I'm not sure if you did a double negative there, I just missed it. So you do not want the.
I am not against taking the abutments out of.
So are you in favor of taking the abutments out?
Yes.
I'm trying to.
Yes. Yes.
So, because the position the board is in, staff has to, if we're going to apply for an OSLAD, September 13th deadline is coming. So I'm just trying to figure out a consensus. The resolution is to approve a submission for an OSLAD grant. We have the basics of it. But as Luke pointed out, there are certain things that we could take out if there was a desire to do that. And I think as staff pointed out, obviously, the whole point is this has been thoroughly thought through, and we've discussed this a lot, so we're not making, a short decision on this. But, the issue of where the trailhead would be if you don't build the abutment and you don't plan for the thing, I think we have to deal with the issue going forward of where will the trailhead be. We've heard the residents of South Hollywood saying they don't want the trailhead on the east side of the park because that would mean people would enter and be parking and congestion would start there. So if the board is committing to improving Creekside Park and, the work on South Hollywood is going to continue, I guess we'll have to discuss in the future if there's not a bridge where the trailhead will be and how we will deal with those issues. So I'm just trying to figure out where everyone wants to go on this.
I'm in favor of including the abutments because the bridge is going to be the price that it is no matter what. It's always going to be expensive. And so finding dollars now to help support that and finding additional dollars to even contribute towards our 50% is something that we'll continue to look at over the next 2 years, as well as finding money for the second half. But the community connectivity is the basis of the Creekside grant. So to not have that connectivity included in this first phase, you can't go back and undo the improvements that you've made to then add to it. That would be not responsible use of funds either. So I think if the idea is to do the bridge and to create that connectivity, then that's the basis of this grant that we should move forward with.
So you think if we went in after the fact to put the abutments, we'd have to take out the improvements that we already made? With the improvements that we're making now, with the assumption of abutments, I mean, it's not like we're going to put something in the spot where the abutments are, though, right? Or you're just talking about maybe the ecological part of by the creek itself, where the abutments would be, we would address it now.
Yes.
And then we wouldn't adversely affect the creek later.
Correct.
Otherwise, we are going to adversely affect it twice. I see your point. Very good point.
Can I ask for, my understanding was the way we're doing this with 2 phases was the more fiscally responsible way in order to make sure that, we weren't putting all of the funding in just 1 phase. Is that correct? And can you talk a little bit about, I guess, what the opportunity cost of including the abutments in phase 1 would be for the village?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a big question.
So to give you guys, to give the board some discussion points and some options, we came up with OSLAD submission with no bridge abutments. So that'd be just removing the bridge abutments, but having everything else that would be included. Just those bridge abutments came to about $235,600, mainly due to the permitting that would have to be put in place to be able to put the abutments in, since it is in a floodplain. So there's some extra costs with that. So yeah, the total cost for no bridge abutments, but everything else for phase 1 is what you see there. So I have the total project cost listed, and that's 1.1. OSLAD is a matching grant fund, so they'll only match to what dollar value that you put in, up to $600,000. So half of that total amount would be $567. That would be village funded, and that is a little bit more reasonable than the first amount that we had. That would be split over two years, but with the cost of a bridge You know, when we were going through the engineering and the cost estimates of it from White and Company, we realized that bridges are not cheap. So that's kind of why we were splitting it up and to break it up over time to try to make it more, you know, physically responsible for it.
So can I ask a question on top of that? Trustee Kaluzny made a really good point, and it really has me thinking about this. So there's going to be, of course, an effect on the ecology in the area to do the bridge or not do the bridge. Either way, we're going to do this. So if we came in after the fact, like I was thinking that, okay, well, we can get grant funding later and then put in abutments and everything, then we would have to go back in there and undo and then readdress the creek side itself as far as the ecology and the environment in itself. So even if we came back and did it after the fact, the bridge would actually be way more expensive because then we would have to readdress the same environmental areas and runoff, et cetera, that we have now. I mean, that we would be addressing in this one, but we'd have to do it twice. Is that the case? We would actually have to affect that part twice. If we didn't do this now with the abutments, everything that we do, like she said, would be undone on the creek side itself and on the woods, et cetera, that we would actually affect the environment twice, and it could take twice as long to recover from that area.
So the main part that would be affected, the bridge abutment that's on the creek side, park side. I spoke with White and Company in regards to that. You know, with the concern of, you know, when you put in all of the nice new equipment, nice new paving, going in and doing that abutment, is that going to ruin the park space that we just, you know, put in that area? They assured me that it wouldn't, because the idea would be if we go in later, we would be coming from the other side, from the east side, over, because we would have to, if we're putting in a bridge, we would still have to do the coffer dam that would be in the middle, and we'd be just coming from that side. And the only thing that we would have to do on the other side would be concrete work that would get us the grade up to where the bridge would be.
But if we came in after the fact, if we do what we do now, we would still have an effect of all the natural native plants that are having there to stop the runoff going into the creek to hold the sides, I can't think of the word, to hold the sides so that we don't have a destruction of the creek side itself, right? But if we come in after the fact, we have to do that all over again. So everything that you would plant there and everything that you would put in there, grading, extra netting, et cetera, to hold the embankments firm and where they're going to be, we would basically tear that down and do it again. And so then the environment itself could take twice as long. It would be more expensive because we're doing it twice, but it would take twice as long for the ecology and the environment area right there to recover if we came in after the fact and did it again. I guess I'm just trying to look for reaffirmation.
Potentially,
yeah, potentially. Okay.
One of the items with the embankment is the wetland disturbance bank that you're mentioning. That is with just specifically to the abutments, and then that wouldn't happen if we just did the phase 1 portion of the grant.
So I agree with the general idea of the trailways through there. Kind of formalizes the informal a little bit that, you know, myself and my kids had used years ago. Having a trailhead on the east side of the creek doesn't really seem to make sense on that. So that would put it on the west side, which would put it at creek side, which makes much more sense. I think the point that bothers me at this point is the phasing of it in terms of including the abutments, because if you look at that timeline, let's say everything went great. So phase 1, we're 3 years away from that being completed. That gets us abutments. You apply for another grant, and maybe, I mean, so that's assuming we're successful on this one, which you're rolling the dice. We've been very successful in the past. Doesn't mean that will continue. But say we're successful on that, 3 years from now, we've got the creekside improvements, we have the abutments, and we apply for another grant, another OSLAD grant, assuming we're extremely successful again. I mean, if we look at this kind of time frame, you're another 3 years after that. So you have these abutments sitting out there. None of us will be on this board forever. You have future boards. You know, you're not sure which direction they come in. Are we putting in abutments to nowhere? For the bridge to nowhere, we'll have abutments that'll go nowhere. It would seem like, I mean, though that, I mean, I think we all look to the abutments being kind of a commitment to the future. I think we could still have that commitment to the future, or future boards have that commitment without the abutments. And I'm just concerned we have abutments there, and then 5, 6, 7 years from now, they end up getting taken out and the bridge never gets built. So as far as the washroom, I think we do include that in the application for Creekside.
So here, to try and do my job to figure out, trying to build a consensus or figure out where we're going. I mean, is there anyone on the board that is anyone in favor of not applying for an OSLAD grant? Does anyone just want to not apply for the OSLAD grant in general? Okay, so everyone, we want to submit an OSLAD submittal. So the way I look at it is we have 3 options. Luke, can you put that slide up with the 2 options? Out of these 2 options, is there anyone that's in favor of going with the option with the difference between these 2 is no toilets on one? Is there anyone in favor of that option with no toilets?
Yes.
Okay, 1. Is there anyone else?
You're talking the bottom option.
The bottom option. Is there anyone that, out of those 2 options, I'm not asking final commitment to that, but is there anyone else that's in favor of building it with no toilets? Okay, so then the way I see it, it comes down to, do we submit an OSLAD grant that includes the bridge or no bridge? And that's, and with respect to Trustee Hendricks, I mean, it's like, I understand your point, but there's not enough other support on the board to eliminate. So it seems like
I understand.
The OSLAD application's going to be either a bridge or no bridge, and there's going to be toilets either way. So going from there, how does what's the, I mean, I guess I'm looking to refine the application. There's a motion, we're going to pass a resolution to apply for the OSLAD. What does the majority of the board want in that is what I'm looking for.
But the option is no abutments as part of that first part.
Correct.
So whether that abutments leads us to a bridge or a potential board, or a future board to a potential bridge.
Well, it's not assuming that it's assuming that you're waiting until the next OSLAD opportunity, but that might not be the case. It could come sooner.
Right, and that's kind of what I was wondering about before. Like, it's not the only option, right? It's a good option, the OSLAD grants, of course, but what are other funding options so that we might not have to wait?
But you have the
6 years.
the village match to that too. So by, you know, increasing the speed that we would apply for a grant somewhere else, unless we're going to get 100% grant, we're matching that somehow.
Sure.
So that makes it a little tougher doing that without the OSLAD, but also without spacing it out.
I think something that will help in discussion is with OSLAD submittal, you are committed to what we're submitting. So if we were to submit without the bridge abutments, it doesn't mean that we can't add them at a later date. And in that timeline, pursue other funding opportunities and potentially add those at a later date if we can secure some other funding opportunities not specific to just OSLAD. So if we submit without these bridge abutments, we would not be able to get OSLAD funding for that portion. We wouldn't be able to add it later, if that helps.
So,
and if I could just kind of weigh in on funding options, it's a good question to ask. From my experience, and what we've been very successful at getting grant funding for is through ITEP money and STP money. That's what we're using to do roadway improvements, to do the streetscape improvements in downtown. This will not qualify for that. So all the typical grant programs that I am aware of and that we've been successful at would not qualify. What this would qualify for, I think President Garvey mentioned the member initiative type thing, you know, where we'd get a state representative or a congressperson. That's what I would own, and in my experience, my career, these are the type of projects that would lend themselves to that. That's the good news. The bad news is those are very sporadic, and and President Garvey knows that you get calls at the last second. Hey, you know, I'm on the floor of X, governmental office, and you submit, and hopefully maybe you get it. But it's very difficult to plan for that and to prepare for that. Unfortunately, the ones that we've done the most of is STP and ITAP, and this would not qualify for that.
I mean, obviously, it seems like the board, I mean, and it's a struggle because it's a financial decision. It seems like there's a strong sense that a bridge ultimately would be the best thing, because I think everyone agrees we don't want to have the trailhead on the east side of the creek and cause that type of thing over there. So I also understand Trustee Ketchmark's point of, putting it on future boards, that if we put in abutments and then we're counting on future boards to follow through with our vision. We do that all the time. We realize none of us are going to be here forever, and we start plans that can't be finished during our terms or our careers. And I don't think we should necessarily shy away from doing something and think future boards aren't going to agree. They might not, but if there's an investment in the abutments going forward. But if you, the point of, if everyone thinks it's a good idea and does it, I don't want to separate the idea from, because we're still going to move forward with South Hollywood. Where are you going to put the trailhead if we don't put this bridge in, or start to put the bridge in? Where you're going to put the trailhead is going to be a topic for another night that we're going to have to do. But also committing to the fact that, yes, we're making a financial commitment by applying for this OSLAD grant and coming up with the match, going forward. And we will have to make hard decisions years from now to make another match or another contribution, whether it's an OSLAD 50-50 match or another federal or other grant or member initiative. There might be a match required, but I could tell the board's struggling with the financial part of it, as we should, but I also want you to think of the ramifications of the decisions you make. Let's face it, if we don't apply for this OSLAD grant and put abutments in now, I ask you to think about what's the likelihood of us ever putting a bridge in, or anyone putting a bridge in going forward. And that could be a sound decision that the board can make. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that decision, but we also have to think of the follow through of then, where's the trailhead? What's the plan next for South Hollywood? That type of thing. So
the consensus that you're looking for now is: are we going to add or not add the bridge abutments?
Correct. So,
and per Trustee Klusny's comment about connectivity and really being the core of the grant, kind of seems like there's not a lot of options there. Otherwise, I mean, that we have to go across the water, right? So whether that is, I don't know what the design options are for that bridge, and how much flexibility we have using natural materials. There was a note you said from 2014 about the outcropping, or if it has to be, an actual bridge. So I see that there's a cost for the bridge here, but I'm just wondering how exact those numbers are for what our design options could be. How close that is.
White and Company has experience with bridge. They have an engineer who does bridges, so it's still a cost opinion. They may put it a little bit higher just because there's a lot of unknowns with that area, being that it's in a floodplain. So they're being conservative with their number. Okay. But I mean, it could. I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't cost that much. I think it will be that much money. That amount that they gave us.
A lot more. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just curious.
All right. So, again, I'm just trying to count heads here, and I'm not sure. So there's a motion and a second to pass the resolution. I guess we could say, I could call for a vote if the board is ready. And am I okay doing this, Adam? The resolution currently states to submit an application. Can I say that who in the board is in favor? The resolution on the table is to approve a submission for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Open Space and Land Acquisition Development Grant with the option of the bridge abutments.
Yes, that's the agenda item on the table, is to the financial support for the application.
Okay, so the vote I'm going to ask Bridget to take a vote on first and see how it goes is to submit an OSLAD application that has both the toilets and the bridge abutments in it. There's been a motion, a second. So is everyone clear what I'm going to ask for a vote on now? And then if that doesn't pass, we'll go another route?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Bridget, I'm sorry, any further, I didn't want any further discussion?
No.
Okay, Bridget, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Pass.
Trustee Cote.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
No.
She said no.
Oh, that was no. Trustee Niramatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Go back to me.
Trustee Ketchmark passed. He'd like a chance to vote. You can do that. He passed originally.
Oh, I thought he said yes.
No, he said
Sorry.
pass. Sorry, he said pass.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Passes.
Okay, so that resolution passes. Staff will submit the OSLAD grant, and we'll, we've been pretty successful in the past, and we'll continue to monitor this going forward and try to make both projects work together going forward. Thank you to all the public input and comment on all sides, and you know, I speak for the board. I know I speak for the board when we do appreciate that when we get this comments and input, and I know the board members take it seriously, and I think you could see we spend a lot of time on this, and it wasn't passed lightly, so. The final item under regular business, I'd entertain a motion to pass an ordinance to approve and authorize for a final plan development for 8845 Burlington Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Cote, second by Trustee Kaluzny. Again, something discussed in previous, we did the preliminary plan development, and then the final plan development was approved by the Plan Commission. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Cote.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Niramatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Tim, do you have anything by the way of manager's report?
Sure. Two quick items. First item, Trustee Ketchmark got a report and announced, stole a little bit of my thunder, that the village is the proud owner now of the Brookfield Theater building. The only thing I would add is stay tuned. Perhaps in 2 weeks, maybe at the committee of the whole meeting, we will be coming back for a public discussion of options that we could perhaps want to see. How does, the ultimate question is going to be to the village board, how do you all want to see that key property, or could be a key property in the downtown revitalization? How would you like to see that develop? So that will be exciting discussion.
And I just real quick on that point, because that's something that it seemed like it happened pretty quickly to the public, and it did in a way, but I just want to compliment staff. That's an important piece of property, and it's been a topic of interest and public comment for a long time. Staff, and I want to thank Libby and her staff publicly for getting the opportunity and making it happen where we were able to purchase the property and give us the opportunity to have some exercising control going over forward. So this is some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes where these opportunities come up, but it was a tremendous job by staff to make this happen. I just wanted to say thank you publicly.
Yeah, Libby Popovic was instrumental in jumping through hoops and hurdles that I certainly couldn't have done, and she did it with aplomb and was diligent and made it happen. So I echo President Garvey's comments. Second of all, Trustee Niramatsu also stole some of my thunder. I want to alert the public to what will be coming hopefully in the mail, or maybe not hopefully, but we are doing a two-pronged or multi-pronged public outreach. Trustee Niramatsu has reported in the past that we've been attending, and our consultants have been attending farmers markets and other public events to gain public input into the potential construction or need for construction of an indoor recreational center. One of the other avenues that are being pursued is a statistically significant survey, mailed survey. And what that means is, what makes it statistically significant is the randomness. So it's not a self-selected population we're looking for. A randomized sampling to about 10% of the residents of Brookfield will be receiving a postcard from the University of Illinois. That's a little misleading on the address label, and it says University of Illinois only because our consultants, Williams Architects, has subcontracted with University of Illinois. They are the organization that's performing the actual survey work and the compilation. So the postcard will come from the University of Illinois. Please look at the back of that. It gives you information and instructions on how to complete the survey. And as I said, the randomness of that mailing and the results of that will be a statistically significant and valid result in terms of understanding what the population would like to see in a rec center. In addition to that, there will be a separately compiled survey available if you either call the Village Rec Department at 708-485-1527 or visit the Village website. You could and go into the Park Department portion of the website. You can look it up and get a survey, and you could submit the survey that way. The results will be separated. That will not impact the validity of the statistical significance survey, but would also provide a further opportunity and further avenue for the public to reach out and to provide input into this process.
If I could, to reiterate Tim's comment on that, I had gotten mine in the mail, I think Thursday or Friday.
That's completely random, by the way. That's not because you're a trustee.
Well, I just kind of went with a pile of things to toss initially because I thought it was alumni solicitation. Because the one side, it's Illinois College of Applied Health Sciences, so it doesn't say anything about make sure you fill out your rec survey or from the Village of Brookfield. So really pay attention to once you get this.
If I got one, I'd be afraid it's a bill from the University of Illinois. Okay, thank you, Tim. That ends the items we have on the Village Board agenda. At 8:35 p.m., I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the Village Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Gilhooly, second by Trustee Naramatsu. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Cote.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Naramatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooly.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the Village Board meeting's adjourned at 8:36. We'll start the Committee of the Whole meeting in just a few minutes.